at what kind of priority you should have for innovation policy. I would say promoting the SDI mode in more traditional sectors. And this is actually in Sweden a major problem, that most of what's going on in Sweden is here. And there's no policy at all in Sweden related to the DUI mode. And the DUI mode, I mean, some of the things do work well in Sweden without the policy. But that's a heritage from earlier times. But the DUI mode has to do with the human resource development, with the way you organize the firm is fundamental. Inside, that you have a good horizontal interaction between the different parts. And some science-based firms are very bad at that. They don't do these kind of things. And we heard the problem with not linking up to the market and the end users.
Many publishing firms are very bad at that as well. Many publishing firms are very bad at that as well.
Absolutely. But that's not the focus in this one.
Basically, what you're advocating is that every organization be a learning organization, in the sense of Peter Senge's words, I would think. But that book was published 15 years ago, and I don't know many learning organizations according to that definition. So I have two questions. One is, are we really fundamentally doing that many things wrong in business that we don't get to develop learning organizations? And the second is the current evolution or trend towards using social media inside and outside and across organizations going to help in any way?
Well, the last part of the question. The last. What do you say about media?
The tendency to use social media, or the trend towards social media in organizations, things like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and so forth, which are opening up organizations and which are easing the knowledge flow. Are they going to be helping in the right direction in terms of what you're advocating or not?
No, it's. I mean, the first part of your question. I mean, for me, there's no doubt on the basis of the kind of research I've done over 30 years that the gap between good practice, not best practice, because that's impossible, but between good practice and actual practice in terms of organization is actually much bigger than it is between good technology and actual technology. And therefore, to develop innovative or creative kind of solutions to these kind of problems, how can we stimulate the diffusion of good examples? Of course, we had a program like this. You might remember the LOC program, LOK, which was about management, organization, and competence building. I was involved in developing this program. It was a little too narrow. But in principle, I think you can do things and you should do things. And one way to understand that you need to do these things is to understand the importance of these DUIs. The second question, I have written a lot about the distinction between tacit and codified knowledge, and especially in relation to knowledge management. And of course, if you can develop technologies which in a sense moves into some kind of gray area here, where you can develop so advanced forms of communication with the help of technology that you get closer to face-to-face interaction. That might make a difference. But so far, I'm rather skeptical. I think still the kind of face-to-face interaction is fundamental for creative processes and for communicating complex and new messages. As long as we communicate standard messages about things we all know about in before, this is so efficient. But even if you begin to use the most advanced so far technologies, I don't really think I can see yet that you can overcome this. What do you think, Eric?
I don't have an opinion on that part.
You don't? No.
No, because it's my business experience is slightly in the way of it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of experience with inside companies, and I am anything but optimistic.
Yeah.
I hate to say.
Yeah.
I think the crisis needs to go a little deeper even before people start breaking down barriers between departments, between. We talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
People need to be able to speak outside their field of knowledge and without being afraid.
Sure.
As designers, we know nothing about everything, or a little about everything, and so we don't mind. But I have yet to see companies really opening up and.
No, but my question was also about, how far you can use new media, technological
well, that's what I'm saying
media.
About, they're using things like Facebook and Twitter, whatever, but it's such a superficial thing. I don't think it changes anything. It's just a little harmless activity. People can Twitter, people can go on Facebook. What difference does it make? Is that going to break down barriers of communication? I don't believe so.
No, I'm belonging to the skeptical side. We made a major project on the Danish economy, which was called Productivity Lost. Because we had a period, you remember, in the end of the 80s, where productivity was actually falling, not stagnating in manufacturing. And we went in there and looked what happened. And the most important explanation we found was the introduction of new information technology, without combining it with change in competence and organization. And for me, this was a major lesson. It means that I'm not against technology, but I very seldom see technology as the full solution. You always need to think about what you need to do complementary in terms of training people, in terms of making the organization completely different. I'm sure you agree on that.
But at the same time, at least you could say if the technology is there,
sure.
You could use it wisely. We had this case in Germany recently that Deutsche Bahn, a big railway,
sure.
that the manager, the CEO had to leave because it turns out that they had been spying whatever. They'd been checking everybody's email, presumably because of corruption, what have you. People were making communication with companies who were supplying stuff to them, whatever. But essentially, it shows that there's this incredible mistrust in that all your employees are potential enemies of your company. They may be doing other things on the side, and if you treat your employees like this, and there may be reasons, with the anti-corruption fight, but that premise is so negative in the first place that I can almost see it going the other way at the moment, at least in that company. People won't even write anything half private in an email, because they know that it's going to end up on some server and be used against them.
Did you want to ask?
There may be indication for the fact that things are breaking up also.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I will take the microphone from you, Eric.
Thank you. My belief is that we have to differentiate a little bit about possible changes between the size of the company. I share a lot of
between what?
With the size of the company.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking multinational companies, I share the experience with Mr. Speakerman working for a large telecom company in Düsseldorf. They had a press release hanging outside that they made 2.1 billion euros in turnover last year. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering why the development team was not really at it. Mm-hmm. There were consultants everywhere, but nobody from the company itself. Mm-hmm. On the other side, in Germany, and I'm just curious about that, we have these type of companies, mostly family-owned, most small to mid-sized, but 500 people, that are very successful over long terms, very often family-owned, and they have a distinctive other approach to innovation. I'm coming from Westphalia, and for example, we have the kitchen industry there. They make kitchen cabinets, and they're pretty successful doing that. But they would never innovate in an absolute way. They are incremental innovators over a long time.